Hello there, and welcome to Awful Game Emporium, where I take a look at some of the absolute worst games I can get my hands on. Today's little treasure is Robo Pit 2 for the PlayStation 1, from our good friends at Phoenix Games, providers of other such wondrous classics of the age, like Dalmatians 3, Street Warrior, and... what was it called? Snow White and the Seven Clever Boys. Now, I wish I'd made that up, but no, that is an actual game, and we'll get to it at some point. Oh, another classic, Animal Soccer World. Oof. Oh, now there's a game. But anyway, today is about Robo Pit 2. Before we begin, I'd just like you to realise that little copyright notice at the bottom here. 2003. This game came out in 2003. 3 years after the launch of the PlayStation 2. Remember that. Or just forget everything you see here, you'll probably be better off. Let's start a new game. So what is Robo Pit 2? Robo Pit 2 is like a mashup of a bootleg Medabots game and a bootleg Armored Core game. You customise these little fighting robots and then you win a bunch of matches and one-on-one fights, and each fight you win you get a new part and then you can reintegrate that into your design. And as we've just started a new game, we get to use some of these base parts to build our first robot. Visuals, not this game's strong point, as you will quickly realise. What part should we go with? The game doesn't really explain what all the different stats mean. I have no idea what wukt. I'm assuming that's weight. I'm assuming that the heavier I make something, the more health it has, but the faster it moves. That's an assumption I'm making. Maybe I'm giving this game too much credit. Let's go with this fake Gundam looking thing. And for the body, what I will say about this game, there are some quite cool designs. It's clear the developers did not have much to work with, but you know, they did a lot with like a small little handful of polygons. There's some quite nice designs. In particular, quite like this big bulky one up here, the brick. That's pretty cool. We got those huge boosters on the back, you know. Something to be said for that design. So your arms are your weapons. Instead of it being Armored Core style, where you choose an arm, then you choose what weapon is attached to that arm, just your arms are the weapon. So like a saber is this weird little knife hand thing, a dirk, which looks an awful lot like a saber if I'm honest. Looks like that. That's just pretty good. It's just got an axe for a hand. How great is that? So screw that, we're not even going to try and pretend this is like a human being style thing where it's got a hand it can pick things up with. We'll turn the weapons into hands or hands into weapons. However you want to look at it. Let's go with the lance, because the lance completely breaks this game, so naturally I want to use it. And let's also use the lancer, which is a completely different weapon that is hilarious. You probably can't tell what it is from this little preview here, but don't worry, you'll figure it out soon enough. And legs, this is probably the best part. Some of these leg designs are pretty crazy. Like Armored Core style, you've got some reverse joint legs, got some crab legs, inset legs, centaur, and these are my favourite ones, the springs. They move incredibly slowly, but let you jump really, really high, which is of no use whatsoever, but it is very funny, and that's all that matters. This is kind of a cool thing. You have these little kind of mag-style things that float either side of your mech. The base versions are completely useless, pretty much. They have different properties, like some of them will freeze enemies, some of them will have longer ranges and quick recharge times. I'm probably making this game sound way more complex than it actually is, but you'll see what it's all really about. I don't really have much choice, I can only choose Archer. Okay, let's begin. I'm not going to bother colouring it, you know what it will look like if it's a different colour. Of course I want it to be red anyway, because, the red ones are 3 times faster. Things you may notice about this game. There is no music, and there is no narrative. Now, at first I thought that's just because it's a rubbish game, so of course it doesn't have music or narrative, but apparently in the original Japanese version that came out in 1997, which is far more appropriate given this game's visuals, there was both narrative and a soundtrack, and for whatever reason, when Phoenix Games brought it over here in the West, they decided to omit those two features, because, the combat puzzle was so strong as it is, it didn't really need any of these superfluous things like music or story. To be fair, even with them there, it wouldn't have really made this game much better, but, it would be something. This first match you don't get to decide who you fight, it's just this guy. So, I love the spring sound. Boom, boom, boom. So yeah, this is Robo Pit 2. I don't really need to show much more than this. You can probably gather from what you see here as to why I consider this an awful game. But no, let's be brave. Let's try and go further. So it's one-on-one match against this guy who will just wander around aimlessly, more or less. I can jump, use my boost to kind of go upwards some more and sideways and things. This is the Lancer. It's this weird... Hang on, let's get in the sky so you can see it in all its glory. It's just kind of this weird spinning top thing. It's weird. And that's the Lance. You can do slightly different attacks with each weapon, so I can do like a side swipe, or I can do like a little poke, and there's a way to do like a big thrust forwards that will knock enemies down. There's no lock-on in this game. You can use the shoulder buttons to fire my little turret things on the side. You'll see there's a gauge either side of the screen that tells me when they are ready to fire. There are special moves which are tied to a bar underneath the health bar, and I'll try and get one of those up. There are various combo moves, but I've never been able to pull one off. But it doesn't matter, because this is why the Lance is good. Or broken, I should say, if I can actually... Yeah, game balance, not a big thing. So make it interesting, just throw in a little side swipe there, and then keep poking. Yeah. And that's partly why Robo Pit 2 really sucks. There is no semblance of balance or logic. Like, I don't really get the reason why this Lancer would ever be that useful. Enemies seem to recover from it pretty quick. Oof. Yeah, it kind of knocks them back, so you can't just kind of stun lock them, which is... You know, maybe a good thing, you know, that at least makes some sense. Pressing circle, I can block. Looks like I'm not actually going to get a special, because the Lance doesn't generate special that quick. Don't worry, in the next fight there'll be stuff. Yeah, that's more or less Robo Pit 2. There's not much more to show than that. But in between all these fights, there's meant to be cutscenes with like characters talking to each other and stuff like that. All that's gone. There's none of that. Apparently we in the West didn't deserve it, or we just wouldn't have understood. Now you get experience points and you can level stuff up. And now I get to choose a new part for my defeated foe, much like the Medabots games. I will choose this rapid option, funnel, fang, whatever you want to call them, depending on which... mecha wording you like to go with. Oh, whoops. So I can go to the garage now, where I could save if I cared at all about this game, and now I can change one of these archers into a rapid. So yeah, now I'm ready for some more serious combat. How this game works is you conquer a little grid on this sphere, and then you choose which, well, I say grid, a line, whatever you want to call them, a segment. And then you can choose to move to any adjacent segment and fight an opponent there. Let's see. Let's fight this guy with the axe hand. Spoilers, this fight is going to be largely similar to the previous one. Although I will try and at least get a special move off. Only I know how to do one of them. There are others, it would appear, but I'm not entirely certain. You know, I'm no pro at this game. You want to get in contact with some of the higher tier players if you want to know some of the more complex controls and moves. So yeah, that's the rapid. Oh god, that does almost no damage, but it generates me special pretty quick. Only got half a bar. See, I'm learning the metagame. I'm getting the hang of this thing. Discovering the hidden depths of Robo Pit 2, which is not something I think anyone has ever said in the history of mankind. There we go, got a special. Let's do one. Doing a limit break. There. Exciting, isn't it? That's kind of Robo Pit 2. Oh yeah, there's one other thing I'll show. There's like, One of the few cool features of this game is there is like an enemy who appears... yeah, I'll just use my pro combo to defeat this guy. Yeah, there's this random enemy who has insane stats and is quite scary looking, and he appears on a certain segment of the board. I thought that was kind of a cool feature. Not one of many this game has. Actually, no, that's unfair. This game has a lot of cool features, it's just they've clearly not been implemented particularly well. And you know, even in 1997, the graphics in this game would have not been exactly well received. To know that this came out in 2003 boggles the mind. So let's go back to the garage and equip that laser. Garage parts. Exchange that archer for a laser. Let's get out of here and fight the scary mystery man. Oh, is he not there? Yeah, this is the cool thing. It's like, no data. Oh, what could that be? I bet it's a really easy opponent. Hang on, just keep pressing the wrong button there. There we go. Ooh, what could happen? I'm assuming if you beat him somehow at this point, you'll get his parts. Or I don't know, maybe this was part of the story or something. I watched a clip of someone playing the Japanese version against this guy, and there was some kind of cutscene after you lost to him, so I guess there is some narrative to it, but I don't know. Again, I'm not saying that would have made this game any better. It was pretty bad either way you look at it. See, here he is. Oh god, look at that guy, he's got a big scary face for a chest. And he generates special really quickly without actually having to do anything. Go laser! There must be some way to just cheese this fight. Sadly, I can't do the whole lance combo on him. He seems to break out of it really easily. Ooh! And he has lots of special moves that I don't seem to have access to. Or maybe those are the other special moves that I couldn't do. No! Yeah. Now he's doing some crazy suplex thing. Yeah. Yeah, I reckon it's quite hard to win that fight the first time. Maybe you are meant to lose that. Yeah, that's Robo Pit 2. There's nothing else for me to show here. That is the game. Thanks for bearing through this with me. Hopefully no one will ever have to play this game ever again, but you know, some poor soul out there will no doubt pick it up thinking, oh god, it's a robot game for the PS1. There were plenty of good ones of those. This one must be one of them. No, it isn't. Robo Pit 2 is awful. And that's why it's in the Awful Game Emporium.